Vitamin D deficiencies, a new twist from Russia, children's dietary behaviors, and just how much of our food is coming from China. And our consumer panel weighs in on cloned foods. For today, Wednesday, November 17th, 2010, this is Food News Today. We apologize for this morning's technical difficulties. Again, it's a live webcast on new technology, so bear with us. But in the meantime, this recorded version is exactly the same as you would have seen this morning live. Instead of our live chat that follows this broadcast, just send us an email, phil@supermarketguru.com, or post your comments on YouTube. With just a week to go before Thanksgiving, our consumer panel has weighed in on food prices. 69% say they've already seen the price of foods increase, and most report increases in beef and in vegetables. For the complete survey results, just log on to supermarketguru.com. Now, don't forget, we want to continue the discussion. Share your thoughts and opinions, and feel free to pose any questions that you may have for our consumer panel. Food News Today is sponsored by ConAgra Foods, who shares with me the desire to provide the most current, interesting, and unbiased food news. In health and wellness news comes a story from Russia, with love, of course. Our first story is all about vitamin D deficiencies in one of that country's most notorious prisons. There's no surprise that here in Los Angeles, tanning beds are all the rage for both vanity and health reasons. And the latest location to install tanning beds might seem totally bizarre. It is Butyrka, the prison in central Moscow. The prison that has come under a lot of criticism for poorly managed medical facilities and the adverse and preventable health outcomes of its prisoners. The head of the prison said that they're developing additional medical services, and sunbeds will be installed by the end of the year to help ward off vitamin D deficiencies. Prisoners just have to apply for permission before using them, and their accounts will be charged for every use. Now, smirks aside, vitamin D deficiencies are a serious problem right here in the U.S. Very few foods naturally contain vitamin D. Salmon, tuna, sardines, mackerel, shrimp, and fish liver oils are the best natural sources. Sunlight and vitamin D is critical for our good health. The National Health and Nutrition Examination Survey reports that 75% of Americans are deficient. That means consuming less than 200 IU or international units every day. The lack of vitamin D can lead to problems in almost every system in our body, including severe bone deformities in children and in osteoporosis. Optimal vitamin D levels have been shown to be protective against certain cancers, cardiovascular disease, and autoimmune diseases. By the way, the next innovation for that Russian prison is on the way. Looks like spa treatments, including mud baths, are coming next. Understanding consumer behavior is key to being able to change behavior, especially at the food table. For today's Food Sense, I had a phone interview with Dr. Tom Baranowski, professor of pediatrics at Baylor College of Medicine, one of the leading experts in the field of behavioral child nutrition with over 75 published medical works. I just had to ask him, with all the new programs that are implemented in our schools, from nutrition lessons, improved lunch offerings, gardens, vending machine revamps, do we actually have evidence, any data, that these programs work? His answer is surprising. He told me that some intervention programs have obtained modest changes, only an increase of about half a serving of produce per day. Now, conventional wisdom. Dietary change is primarily a function of knowledge. Educate someone, and that converts to empowerment and to change. But he said,
it is much more complicated than that. Many interventions that have gone beyond knowledge transmission have shown little or no changes.
A study recently published in the New England Journal of Medicine actually evaluated a comprehensive middle school program that changed food offerings, changed vending machine offerings, instituted a new curriculum, and had school-wide social marketing campaigns to bring favorable attention to the changes that were made.
There was at best evidence of modest changes in dietary intake or adiposity on the part of the students after 3 years of implementation. This is very disconcerting.
What is the realistic solution to the child obesity and diabetes problems?
The fact that most obesity prevention mentioned interventions are not working indicates to me that there are other factors influencing adiposity. Over 400 genes have been related to adiposity in at least one study, and about 40 have been consistently related. We will be in a position to effectively intervene when we better understand why some of us are obese.
One solution may be found in a program that Baylor developed and Baranowski led.
Video games allow us to use a potentially exciting medium and to clearly test hypotheses about what aspects of our programs are working. We have shown 1 serving increases in fruit and vegetable intake from playing one of our games and 0.67 serving increases from playing another.
Thank you, Dr. Baranowski, for your time and your insights. Now, this morning at 10 a.m. Eastern, the National Action Plan to Promote Health Through Increased Fruit and Vegetable Consumption released their 2010 report card, which outlines key research findings and assigns actual grades to the strategies in place over the past 5 years. Which received A's? Well, the WIC Fruit and Vegetable Vouchers, Fruit Veggies More Matters Initiative, and the free Fresh Fruit and Vegetable Program for students. For the others, including those that received an F, just download the report to my left. In economy and spending, we head to China. Most consumers are aware that China owns much of the U.S. debt, but do they know just how much of our U.S. food supply is dependent on that country? Diane Sawyer, ABC Evening News, reports this week from China on the culture and the business. And consumers are about to discover that China is now the 3rd largest source of combined U.S. agriculture and seafood imports. According to the USDA, the imports grew from just $1 billion in 1997 to $5 billion in 10 years later in 2007. That's the latest year that's reported. In 1998, Chinese fruit juice exports to the U.S. were valued just below $30,000. And the value of these imports soared to $356 million last year, making China the largest exporter of fruit juices, mainly apple juice, to our shores. In fact, 2/3 of the U.S. apple juice supply now comes from China. In 1978, China accounted for 14% of frozen fish fillets. 30 years later, China accounted for 49%. 25% of whole fish imports come from China as well. By the way, country of origin labeling requires that all seafood be labeled as to its source. Up next.
Cindy the Clown!
He is exactly like you in every way. Except 1/8 your size.
Breathtaking. I shall call him Mini-Me.
Dr. Evil may love having his dwarf clone Mini-Me, but I have to wonder, though, in real life, he would care if the food or beverage he was buying came from a cloned animal or its offspring. So we asked our Supermarket Guru consumer panel just that question. In September, they voted overwhelmingly in favor of clear disclosure. 90% said yes, cloned labels are a must. In September as well, the FDA panel of veterinary medicine held hearings on whether to allow genetically engineered salmon, salmon that grows twice as fast, to be sold for public consumption. The hearing sent several state senators right to the FDA to halt the approval process. Our panel, 64%, said they would not consume foods and beverages from cloned animals or their offspring. 71% would not feed food from these cloned animals to their children, grandchildren, or elderly parents. Guess it just leaves more cloned food for Mini-Me. If you have a question or comment about any of the stories you just heard, or if you're looking for more information, or if you even want to survey our consumer panel, now's the time. Just send me an email, phil@supermarketguru.com. For Food News Today, I'm Phil Lempert. Thanks for joining us. Next week's password and stories will be emailed to you next Tuesday at noon Central Time. Thanks for watching.